Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. We're back. We've been gone 3 months. They've been long months. I've missed all of you. I'm so glad. It just blew me away while we were away. The podcast, all the different podcast sites that we're on, blew up. I've never seen such big numbers. So I just want to thank you guys for sticking with us. This is season 13, episode 2, and I've got such a fantastic, interesting. I'm just so curious about everything about my guest today. Her name is Rain Brown. Rain Brown, full name, Merry Christmas, Kathryn Raindrop Brown. And if you haven't seen the show that she's on, Alaskan Bush People, I don't know where you've been. Where have you been in the bush? But it's such a great show. I discovered it for the first time myself a couple months or no, a couple weeks back, and I stayed up almost all night for about a week straight and binged every single one of them that were available on Hulu. And then I found out there were more seasons over on Discovery. So I'm in the middle of that. I haven't gone all the way through them, Rain. But they're one of the best scenes in this television show um, is when she goes to the dentist and she says her full name. I just thought that was the cutest scene. Merry Christmas, Kathryn Raindrop Brown. And the dentist is like, oh, well, excuse me? I just thought that was very cute. So, Rain Brown, she's my special guest today. She's a television star and an inspirational writer. She's on the hit show Alaskan Bush People. And if you haven't seen it, like I said, it's a journey deep into Alaska's bush where naturalist and adventurer Billy Brown, along with his wife. Oh, you know what? I got to stop here for a second. It's Amy, right? Your mom's name is pronounced Amy,
Yes,
or is it okay?
like Miami.
Yeah, because I heard everything I've watched it says Amy, and I'm like, no, it's Amy. Everything I've seen
It
by
is
other people
it
on
is
YouTube.
Amy. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna let me leave a little dead spot here for my sound engineer so he can clean that up, and I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna start over. Alaskan Bush People is a journey deep into Alaska's bush where naturalist and adventurer Billy Brown, along with his wife, Amy, and their 7 children, choose to live life on his own terms, on their own terms. They're connected to wild nature and bonded to each other. You can check it out on Discovery, and you can go to discovery.com, Alaskan Bush People. When it debuted in May 2014, there had never been anything like it
Sorry
on
about my
TV.
dogs.
Oh, are you dogs barking?
Yeah, my dogs are going crazy.
I didn't even,
Sorry, guys.
they're like, who's in the house? That's all right. I'm gonna do, let's put a little pause there. Actually, I couldn't hear them, so don't worry about it. It makes it more fun. Almost everyone brings a
Oh,
dog
okay.
on their lap or a cat or something. They always join the show because they're so curious what's going
Jackson.
on. All right, I'm gonna do a little pause here and then another intro. The show is Alaskan Bush People. And when it debuted in May 2014, there had never been anything like it on TV before. Discovery Channel hit a gold mine with endless drama content and an audience following that just can't look away. And you can't. I dare you. But be warned, you probably will be late to work the next day because you're going to stay up all night watching it once you get started, like I did. When Alaska Bush People first aired, it netted 5 million viewers. At its height, it had just over 6 million viewers. Alaskan Bush People even beat out the Kardashians in viewership with the debut of its 8th season. And if you haven't seen it yet, here's the premise. Take a journey with the Brown family deep into Alaska's bush, where naturalist and adventurer Billy Brown, along with his wife, Amy, and their 7 children, choose to live life on their own terms. And they connect to the wild nature and they are bonded to each other. The family strives to be self sufficient against all odds, often shunning modern society to live off the wilderness and to walk where no man has ever walked before. With Amy by his side, Billy traveled the lower 48 states and eventually found home in the sprawling landscape of the last frontier, where they have spent most of the last 30 years raising their children. Billy says, our family is doing what is natural for human beings to do. We survive on what we hunt, what we fish, what we trap, and what we barter for. We explore, we wander, we live. If you think about it, it's the life we were meant to live. We were all meant to live. So, again, my special guest today is the youngest of the Brown family. The Brown family is affectionately called the Wolf Pack. I may refer to them as that again. And again, her name is Merry Christmas, Kathryn Raindrop Brown, and she goes by Rain Brown. Welcome, Rain.
Hi.
So nice to see you. So nice to have you on show here today with me. It's been a little time.
My pleasure. I'm very grateful to be here. I'm excited.
Oh, that's a nice thing to say. Well, I'm very grateful you're here. Your dad had a wish for you, and I was telling you off air. It's similar to my father's wish when we grew up. He wanted his family to be raised in um, Pacific Northwest. Your father wanted to live and raise you all in the bush, and for the freedom kept coming up as your father described it as just absolute freedom. And most of your life, Rain, you really did live out in the bush, right? I mean, that's the majority.
Absolutely.
And if you don't believe me, go watch it, man. Some of those days look hard. So here's my question, my first question. Kids, I know I couldn't wait. By the time my dad finally found a little cabin up in Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I was 17 and I was out the door and I was back to California. And most kids want to get away from their parents, I think, they're like, I just can't wait till I'm old enough to get away. Were you ever like that, or did you really always want to live off the grid in the bush?
Oh my God. I mean, I was so still am so attached to my parents. Like, I mean, it was hard to get me out of the like out onto the deck of the boat to do chores to like be away from them. Like I just always wanted to hang out with my dad, always wanted to hang out with my mom. Like, my siblings would be out doing their thing and I would just want to stay behind with my parents, and learn from them. And I moved out of the main dwelling when I was 15 and I got my own TP. It's on the show. Actually, that was my first dwelling outside of the main house. And I hated it. Like, I did not like sleeping with no one else in the dwelling with me. Like, I did not like it. Now, mind you, the freedom of like none of my siblings being around, that was another story. That was great. That was fun. But when it came to like little baby Rainy,
Hmm.
being away from mommy and daddy, like no, I didn't like that.
That's interesting. So, have you talked to friends now that grew up, you know, in the suburbs or, wanting to get away or not? Or here's even a better way to look at it. Like what you said about you wanted to be around them, you wanted to learn from them, and you didn't want to go out anywhere to the boat, to chores. You want to just hang out with your mom and dad, which is so sweet. And I don't think a lot of kids are that way, or they don't get the opportunity like you had, is probably a better way to say it. Mom and dad are at work all day, right? And they get this brief moment of television, maybe, and some dinner together, and it just starts all over again. You got them 24/7 and you loved it, your parents.
And that was the biggest blessing growing up is that my best they were my best friends. They're everything to me. Like I genuinely like I always would tell people, like my friends and stuff, since moving down to the lower 48, and and all my friends would have such different experiences from me, it was hard for me to relate to them in any way because they'd be like, "Oh man, my mom's being so annoying," and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I don't really have that problem." Like, or they'd be like, "Oh yeah, my dad won't let me, go hiking," and I'm like, "Oh, my dad sends me out to go get a deer." Like, I don't know how to relate to you guys. Um, so it was hard, but it was also it really opened my eyes to see like how blessed I was that I had that, growing up, and that I still have my mom now to this day is like the biggest blessing I could ever ask for.
And your mom seems like such a sweet person, and your sister as well, who you guys are best friends, right? Are you?
Yes. Yeah, inseparable.
Yeah, bird.
Yes, birdie girl. Yeah, the longest we've ever been away from each other is like 3 months
Hmm,
in 22 years.
hmm. And how was that? Was that hard?
Oh, that was a nightmare. Yeah. It was like we were not okay. Like,
What do you think it is that makes you guys all drawn together to each other so much? Is it just that's the way it should be? And again, most kids don't experience that, so they are left
you
to their own
know,
devices. Do you know? Have you thought about that? Why you all are all so close? Which is, I think, the heart of the show and what draws people to it is that closeness that you all share.
I've put a lot of thought into it actually of like, I wonder, I know that we grew up with different, you know, um structure than everybody else grew up with, or that most people grew up with. But I've
Were you?
I've questioned and I've been like, because my siblings and I we fight, like,
Mhm.
and but we're always at the end of the day, like we can't stay mad at each other. Like we're always just like at the end of the day, we're like, oh, it's no big deal. Like you want to go out and hunt, or like you want to go down to the creek, like like it's not life or death. And I think that a reason for that is being that like I can't really speak for anyone else. I can only speak for me. But how I was raised is that, like, life and death is life and death. Like, that's like you could get eaten by a bear. You could fall into a hole and die, like you could get hypothermia and die. You could starve to death. You could thirst to death. There's many variables. But I think that in modern day society, life and death has become different. It's become like, oh, my phone can't die, or oh, if I don't, get this new pair of headphones, my world's going to end. And it's such a different perspective that I think like, it really instilled us at a young age that like that person, like you might not never see them again if they leave. Like you never know what could happen. And that's actually why we say more is our way of like saying I love you. That's kind of like secretive.
I'm glad
So
you
you can
brought
say it
that
like in
up because
public without
I
being.
I think more people should adopt that. No pun
I do
intended.
too.
More,
I think
it's really beautiful.
yeah, it's great because, like if you're hanging out with your friends and you're trying to be cool and your mom drops you off, you don't have to be like, "Oh, I love you, mom." You can just be like, "More."
More, yeah. You
It's
want,
it's cool.
yeah, you want more, right? You want to see more. You want more time with them is really what
Yeah,
it means, right?
and it
Who came up with that? Do you
exactly.
know? In the family?
That was my dad
Your dad. Your
that
dad's a
came up
very
with that.
wise
Yeah,
man. Very wise man. I
indeed.
wanted uh so let me ask um let me about I want to know this a little bit about you. I'm curious. So you're the baby of the family, and
Indeed.
in the show it's so obvious how much everyone loves you. You don't come off ever as like a bratty little sister, It's the total opposite, but you're very uh you seem to be taking everything in very intelligently and kind of soaking it in and looking at everybody. But if someone crosses you, there's just a quick look like, like I got you. Don't mess with me. I got you. I got your number. And I thought it was so. I think it's so funny when I watching those scenes. Um, and your family says, "Oh no, Rain is she's the baby. She's whatever she wants, we're gonna get for her. We're gonna make it happen." And then they all say at different times that you have them wrapped around your little finger. And so, how did you wrap them around your little finger? And is that like, is that your personality or does it just come naturally? People want to please you.
I mean, I don't know. I've always been kind of a princess. Like, you know, growing up, it was like, Rain gets the best, Rain gets whatever she wants. Like, and I was always grateful, like, because I was always taught to have gratitude toward things. And so
Hmm.
I was never spoiled. Like I was
No,
spoiled,
that's
but I
what I mean.
wasn't
It never
spoiled
comes off that
rotten,
way.
you know?
Yeah.
And but I also like to say that like I'm nice until I'm not. And there's like a certain line that some of my siblings are very good at crossing. Um that, I don't like it to be crossed, and I'll bap you, no, not actually, but I'll snap out. And this one time with Bam, it was funny. He was giving me a hard time because I was fixing my hair, and I told him, I was like, come a little closer and say that, and that was on camera, and everyone behind the scenes was like, what? Like this just came out of a little 12-year-old, like what? And I think I get that feistiness from my sister because her being the only girl growing up
Hmm.
with five older brothers, like she had to learn how to be feisty, and she taught me how to be feisty. But I don't sensitive and nice, and I'm only feisty if you make me. Just kind of a reoccurrence in my life of, like I always say that people treat you how you treat yourself,
That's so
and
true.
I hold myself as a princess, and so people don't treat me as anything different, because they
Where did
don't
that
know
come
to.
from though? But I mean, you pretty much grew up in the woods. I know you guys were in cities and things like that as well. But where did that come from? Was it just kind of instinctual in you? Like, this is what I'm attracted
Well,
to. I like pretty things. I like the good life, even though maybe I'm hauling water or you know.
it was there were a couple like cassette tapes. Actually, I was gonna say DVDs, but they were mainly cassette tapes. We had a couple DVDs later on, but that there were a couple shows and movies and cartoons that we would watch like over and over and over again because we didn't have anything else. And one of those was Barbie the Diamond Castle
Mm.
and Barbie 12 Dancing Princesses. And I mean, when I tell you I absorbed everything that was Barbie, I absorbed everything that was Barbie. Like I was just obsessed, And before that, before I even knew about like the Barbie movies and stuff, and we would just play with Barbies, I was always really attracted to like the pink things, the shiny things, and then when I got a little older, I was like, or not when I got older, when I was a little younger, I was like maybe 2.5. There was this pink dress I saw in this library window, and it had these little white feathers on it. And I fell in love with it. And I mean,
Mhm.
when I tell you I would wear that thing everywhere, like in the bush, hauling water, hauling logs, starting fires, going hunting, everywhere. Like, and I think that like the main inspiration I had for my femininity and my just the air that is about me is from my Aunt Kathy on my dad's side. Because I grew up hearing stories about, she was a beauty queen. She was a beautiful singer. She won so many pageants, and she loved pink and purple and, like all these things. And she'd always make sure her hair was good and her makeup was good. And, I grew up hearing these stories about her. And I was like, I want to be like her, and my mom was in a lot of the ways I am is that she's feminine, but she's also tough,
Hmm.
and so I had a lot of inspiration coming from my mom there too. Um, but and I was just always my friend them because never treated me as anything less, you know. I was
Hmm. Yeah, your
high on the
aunt.
pedestal.
Well, as you should be, as everyone should be. And so, did you like the woods, even though you had this other, you know, almost dream fantasy land that you loved to imagine of sparkly dresses and pink dresses and Barbie? And I know that your nickname was Bush Barbie, right? But did you love the woods? Did you
Correct.
say,
Yeah.
did you ever go, God, I wish I'm not in the right place here? And, and or were you content?
Well, what makes, you know, where the bush Barbie comes from, boo. I want a nice boat, you know, a good piece of land, some horses, some cows, you know, like I want the bush aspect of it as well as the Barbie. And that's actually how my dad coined the phrase bush Barbie,
Hmm.
was because he was like, well, you're not really like Malibu Barbie, you know, like you're more of a bush Barbie. And I grabbed it and ran. I was like, yeah, I like that.
I'll take it. But did you see the, speaking of the movie, you obviously, I'm sure, saw Barbie. Did you
You
like
know,
it?
I actually haven't seen it yet.
What?
I know, I know. Like
Oh,
I don't know. I don't get around to watching a lot of TV. Like I'm
what
always doing something else.
what are you doing? Give me a day in the life of
Oh
Rain.
goodness. Um,
A lot of animals, I know.
a lot of animals. Yeah, a lot of ranch stuff. Feeding, watering, you know, if it's winter time, you have to break up their ice. Um, I've actually been spending a lot of time for the winter. We had to all come down off of the mountain because the roads closed. And I've been hanging out in Okanagan with my boyfriend. And just I like to go on walks a lot. Like I'll go outside and I'll just like walk around and you know, it's not the same thing. Like I'll try and find like any bit of woods that I can possibly find, you know, being
So
stuck
you
in
still
town
want to
for the
be out.
winter.
You still need to be outside. That's just a bit that's in you.
I have to be. Yeah. If there's sunshine, I'm outside.
Okay, so that's my next question. We got to take a break here. If there's sunshine, you're out there. What about if it rains, Rain?
I mean,
Do you
honestly, I'm
like
still
the
out
rain?
there.
You're still
Yeah.
out
Like
there.
it rained the other day and everyone was, you know, going inside and I was like, no, I like it. You know, I get
Yeah.
cold really easy, but if I bundle enough, I can stay out there for a long time.
God, you guys watching the show. I mean, you guys are in the rain and the snow and the sleet and the hail.
Oh yeah, never
I'm
ends.
cold. I'm cold for you. Okay, but I want to ask this question before we go to break. Your family, you obviously still love the seclusion of the woods, being outdoors. But every once in a while, you'd have to go back into town, or go work somewhere to pay for different necessities. And I know it was hard on all of you. Can you describe for me the sensory difference between living in the woods or the bush and the city, living in the city, the times that you had to live in the city?
Well, I mean, the biggest difference, like the biggest comparison I have is I lived in Beverly Hills for about a year and a half, little over a year. And there was when my mom was getting cancer treatment. And we went straight from middle of nowhere, Alaska, you know, right outside of Hoona, my little slice of heaven. And we went straight into Beverly Hills, straight into Los Angeles. And I mean, one, like your ears ring a lot more than you think they would because you're not used to that sort of level of sound. You know,
Oh,
you're
that's
you're used to
interesting.
the yeah, you're used to the quiet and you're living in the bush, like your ears get really attentive to any sort of little noises. But when you go from the bush to like a big city, your your brain is like constantly picking up on every little noise. So it can get really overstimulating. Um, and then there's
That's so
also like the
interesting. I didn't think of that.
yeah, the temperature difference is a big one. You know, like from coming from Alaska, even just to Washington, the temperature is like right now, I'm sweating. Like I get cold easy, but I also get hot really easy because I'm used to colder temperatures. And so like temperature difference, and then air quality, a big one. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, huge. Like, you feel like you can't breathe and you get sick. Oh my gosh, do you get sick? Like, we had so many colds. Like, there were like 5, 6 months straight that everyone in my family constantly had a cold because our immune systems just
Yeah,
weren't, they just weren't
interesting.
used to it. Yeah.
Oh, those are good. All of those are good points, things I hadn't thought about. But you're right. When sometimes for me, the quiet is loud. You know what I mean? Like
Really?
it's so quiet, it's loud. Like you can hear your heartbeat, you can hear your blood, inside your body
That's
almost. And
the best, man.
it is, but it's so interesting for you to say that because it's what you get used to, but it's so beautiful when you get used to that quiet and that fresh air, and that clean water and all those things. You're right. I hadn't looked at it that way. Thank you for that answer. I think
Yeah.
what drew me to your particular experience in the show was watching, and I hope I don't embarrass you, but like almost childlike wonderment of your life because you were
Hmm.
the youngest, and when they showed you when they show you these different situations that you guys are going through, it was almost like a childlike wonderment of your life unfolding, and then also witnessing when there were scary things happen to you as a young girl, and you were very stoic and brave, and you tried to control the fear in your face. But I could almost feel myself as a kid going, uh, your dad's sick, your mom's sick. That's scary, and to see them in a hospital, and to um and to be a witness to that when you're young. I just thought you were so brave, but you held it so well, you held it all together, but it must have been a lot going on inside. And you've gone through so much as a young girl, as a young woman now. What have you learned that you could share with young girls that are going through their own struggles? Is there anything, have you thought about that you'd like to share that you can
I
help
would
them with?
love I would love to. Just one second, my boyfriend is asking me a question.
Pick me my boots.
Do you want your boots? Oh,
Well,
okay.
why don't we take a quick break and we'll get that answer on the other
Sorry.
side. No
Sorry about
problem.
that, you guys.
Hey, this is fun. I like it. It's raw. Um, let's do that. Let's take a break because I'm over anyway. I shouldn't have asked another question, but I'm so into it. We'll come right back. My special guest today is Rain Brown. She's a television reality star and she's an inspirational writer. She's on Alaskan Bush People. If you haven't seen it, it's a journey deep into Alaska's bush and beyond, where naturalist and adventurer Billy Brown, along with his wife Amy and their 7 children, choose to live life on their own terms, connected to wild nature, and they're very bonded to each other. It's a great show. I couldn't believe how many people want season 15 back. I mean, I can't believe, but I couldn't believe the ratings, and 98% of everybody that watches reality TV that was polled wants this show back. Alaskan Bush People, 10% over every other reality show, more than other reality shows. They want this show back. So Discovery Channel, I hope you're listening. Rain Brown, she's my special guest today, again on Instagram at Hero of Kirkwell. And that Kirkwell is spelled with 2 R's. Hero of Kirkwell. On YouTube at Rain Brown 5278. On TikTok at Hero of Kirkwell 77. And Cameo. Get Rain Brown to say happy birthday at Hero of Kirkwell. We'll be right back.